Well, guys, we do have more news when it comes to the transfer portal. A new QB1 enters. Wow, take a look at this. It's Aidan Chiles, the backup quarterback for Oregon State, actually rated higher than DJ Uiagalelei, the number 2 overall player, a 96 overall rating according to 247, and he's already been crystal balled to Michigan State. So a very interesting story. We thought originally with Jonathan Smith going to Oregon State, maybe DJ Uiagalelei would follow. Well, apparently this is going to be better news for Michigan State. Personally, when it comes to just sheer rankings, I think there are better quarterbacks right now in the portal than Chiles, but if you're basing it off of potential, this kid is a freshman. He barely played. You look at his stats, very efficient, kind of came in mop up duty, but he is a dual threat quarterback, and if you're Michigan State, this is an absolute huge coup with this kid being rated where he is, with him being very young, minimum of 2, maybe 3 years depending. With Michigan State, he is your future quarterback, and that's how quickly a program can change. I'm not saying Michigan State is back, but when you look at Michigan State and how uncompetitive they were versus Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan, I mean, it really was historically bad, but now you've got a brand new head coach who's up and coming. He brings his quarterback in, who's right now the number 1 transfer portal QB, at least that's where he's ranked. What a job by MSU. They get lucky. They had that guaranteed contract with Mel Tucker. They got out of it. It kind of got swept under the rug because of the Michigan scandal. And now they're possibly going to be landing the number 1 transfer there. And here you can see the top 10 QBs. They have Childs at number 1. Honestly, if you're just talking, like, to me, these rankings are completely wrong. I would have Dillon Gabriel probably at number 2, honestly. I really like Dillon Gabriel. Dante Moore, it's all based around potential. And Dante Moore, it'll be interesting because we're hearing more and more. I'm just going to kind of give where each player is leaning or where I think they're leaning based off of some of the tea leaves. Right now seems like there's a lot of smoke behind Will Rogers to Washington. So Washington's going to need a new quarterback next year. Michael Penix Jr., he'll be headed to the NFL. He's already used all of his eligibility up. DJ Uiagalelei possibly going to Florida State. DJU is very interesting, man, because he can run. He's a big boy, 3rd and short, 4th and short. He's almost a guarantee to pick it up, you would think, and he kind of reinvented himself there at Oregon State, although I don't think it would really wow anyone if he went to FSU. It would be an interesting pickup if they can utilize his legs properly and he can continue developing that arm, because he's just got those massive thighs, just a completely different type of quarterback than all these other guys. Cam Ward right now trending to Ohio State. Now, Ryan Clark put out a tweet and said Cam Ward was going to Ohio State. He then deleted it, but obviously he heard something. It's not official right now, but there's been rumors Ohio State offered $1 million. They're in on Ward. Obviously, it's going to be an NIL thing, but the Buckeyes are going to get someone. The Kyle McCord situation gets weirder and weirder. Apparently, his daddy had a little meeting with Ryan Day where he was like, look, we want to be guaranteed the starting job. Ryan Day obviously is sitting there saying, dude, I've lost 3 straight times to Michigan. You really think I'm going to hitch my wagon to Kyle frickin' McCord? I have to beat Michigan. Ryan Day says, it's just, I can't guarantee him the starting job. It's not happening. And then his dad says, oh, he's going to enter the portal. I'm guessing Ryan Day said, go ahead. I really don't care. I have to beat Michigan. I'm sick of dealing with subpar QB play. And Kyle McCord can enjoy transferring to Bowling Green or Miami of Ohio. I heard those were the top 2 options for him. I'm kidding. Like I said, I think Kyle McCord could go to a team like Auburn, maybe Rutgers. Those could be a few options. Maybe Mississippi State. But you do have Cam Ward right now, I would say, trending to Ohio State. It'll be interesting because there's another dual threat quarterback that just entered the portal that I'm going to talk about from Toledo that a lot of Buckeye fans want. I think Ward might be a little bit better. When I was watching his highlights at Washington State, he did remind me a little bit of Braxton Miller. He's not as quick and elusive as Miller was, but he still has that vibe to him. So we'll see if Ohio State ends up getting him. That would be a one and done. He's already started 4 years at college football. He would come in right off the bat and probably be like a top 5 in terms of preseason Heisman odds. Dillon Gabriel right now, I said this yesterday, possibly trending to Oregon. It'll be interesting what happens with Dillon Gabriel. He's very undervalued, really good player. Oregon is going to get someone I would think right now, and this is just my speculation, Oregon is looking at Dillon Gabriel and Dante Moore. We know they can drop a big bag for one of these players. It's going to come down to who do they want more. You also have Grayson McCall sitting in the portal. I'm not that high on Grayson McCall. We remember he had a really good 2020 year during the pandemic. Since then, you could say he doesn't have much talent at Coastal Carolina. Grayson McCall, I thought there were rumors last year he was going to go to Auburn, so maybe Auburn is a fit. Maybe NC State becomes a possible option for him. But either way, we will see. You can see this is the rumor on Dillon Gabriel, Mississippi State. Because of a connection, a quarterback coach now at Mississippi State, Dillon Gabriel possibly considering there. You have USC, which is very surprising to me, the situation with USC in their quarterback room. You've got the 5-star Malachi Nelson. Although we have seen Lincoln Riley do this, you know, he did have Spencer Rattler. He ends up bailing on him pretty early. Will he bail on Malachi Nelson? We will see. Personally, I see, in terms of these three fits, Oregon being the most likely. They're probably going to give up the most money. We know Dillon Gabriel at this point. He doesn't have a big NFL future, so he really needs to cash in this year when it comes to NIL. And that is the situation surrounding that. We also do have Julian Fleming, the former number 3 overall player entering the portal. Kind of really struggled to develop at Ohio State. He was a number 1 receiver in his class. I mean, being the number 3 player in the country is pretty crazy for a wide receiver, but he was more of a blocker towards the end of his career at Ohio State. He's got a year remaining of eligibility, and I could see a Justin Shorter type route. If you guys remember Justin Shorter, he was the number 1 overall receiver. He went to Penn State. He ended up transferring to Florida. He put up a little bit better stats. Julian Fleming did have a very impressive catch, maybe 2 catches against Michigan. So the hands are a little bit shaky, but the talent is there. The body type is really good, physical receiver, and he should transfer, to a place where he's going to get more options. It has nothing to do with the idea of Ohio State having a crazy mass exodus. It's more so the players, they just want to play. And Julian Fleming wants to be a number 1 or number 2 receiver. His final year at Ohio State, he would not be that if he did return next year, so he wants to go to a place where he can get more targets. Maybe he goes to Penn State. I mean, Penn State needs receivers. They had really no one this year. That's the one thing that they were missing. You do also have another former 5-star quarterback, Brock Vandergriff, entering the portal. He was like a top 20 player, currently crystal ball to Kentucky. My goodness, Kentucky getting another transfer after Devin Leary. We'll have to see if they get him. In his 3 years at Georgia, he barely played. Carson Beck, you would expect to be the quarterback next year. He played really well this year, even though Georgia was left out of the playoff. And then the other big transfer portal situation that happened yesterday, Daquan Finn. A lot of people expected him to transfer after last year and utilize the NIL situation to get a really good deal. He stayed at Toledo last year. Toledo ends up going 11-2 again. They've had really elite seasons. It is just the MAC, but still. And now he's into the portal. This is a dual threat quarterback. You look at a team maybe like Maryland. I mean, I'm not sure what his market will be. Maybe there'll be higher teams in on him. Maybe FSU would be in on him. Maybe they're a dark horse. Maybe Ohio State. With, where Toledo is located, it'll be interesting to see how his transfer portal recruitment picks up. He definitely is more of a dual threat QB, running for around 600 to 700 yards. It is against MAC competition, but still, it was a pretty impressive career for him at Toledo, led them to a few double-digit win seasons, and then we did have this come out last night. Seems like it's completely official here with Riley Leonard planning to, how about a multi-day visit to Notre Dame? This came out like right when the portal rumors, right at the end of the season. Riley Leonard to Notre Dame was one of the first rumors. It was either Notre Dame or Auburn. So if it is Notre Dame, like we expect, they're going to be going that route where they get another transfer QB. Riley Leonard did not have great stats, but the stats were really deceiving because last year he threw 20 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. He's a bigger kind of mobile, like Josh Allen type quarterback. I'm not saying he's as good as Josh Allen, but that's just kind of the style that he fits. Very likely going to be heading to Notre Dame starting there next year, and I'm not exactly sure. I think he has another year of eligibility, so maybe he could be like a college lifer where he actually plays at Notre Dame for 2 years. Notre Dame is seemingly running into a little bit of an issue, though, if Riley Leonard leaves after next year, of having a lack of continuity, because they got Sam Hartman for 1 year and then possibly Riley Leonard for 1 year and then switching to someone else. It's the same issue Ohio State might have. You really want a multi-year quarterback, but obviously if, like Kyle McCord's not the guy, you got to move on from him. It is what it is. Ideally, you would want that multi-year starter like you're going to be seeing with Alabama, very likely starting Jalen Milroe next year. Going to have a loaded team, things like that. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this rendition, this little update of the portal. I would say the top story, seeing Aidan Chiles. Who would have thought right now the number one transfer QB? I disagree with that. I actually think Dillon Gabriel is the number one transfer portal QB. Now, you could say because Dillon Gabriel is a one and done, he's less attractive because he's only going to be starting for 1 year at his new school. But to me, he's a really good quarterback right now in the portal. Dante Moore is kind of that interesting. You're going to have to really invest a lot into him because he is multi-year, meaning if you take him as a transfer, if you're a program like Ohio State, you're going to really disrupt your quarterback room. You're going to lose multiple QBs, very likely at least Devin Brown. Well, I would say Devin Brown's pretty much gone no matter what unless he lights it up against Missouri in the bowl game. Here's an intriguing Dante Moore rumor. You can see Oregon, one of the teams, possibly Florida State as well. But how about Michigan and Miami? Michigan's situation, it's going to be very hard to really judge who they can get from the portal. They are facing crippling sanctions. They're facing a multi-year bowl ban. They're facing vacated wins. Would a QB really want to take a chance on Michigan? Theoretically, it's not like, if you're a good quarterback, you really don't need a bowl game to prove that you should be a top draft pick. I will say that. And if Michigan really wants to spend a lot of money on Dante Moore to bring him back home, I guess that could be an option. You also have Miami there, which tells me Dante Moore is very heavily considering NIL when it comes to this transfer. Not surprising there. Miami possibly trying to make a huge splash. They've had a few tough years with Mario Cristobal, 7-5 this past year. Tyler Van Dyke, their starting quarterback, into the portal after he got benched. Either way, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.